want to follow up now with our final speaker for this morning. What a blessing this has been. Bill Adsit is our keynote speaker, and he will be with us next year as well. So I'm very grateful that he was willing to come today and just share a portion of his testimony. Bill is a member of the Tahltan Band and was one of very few that was put into residential school at age 5 and never left until he was 15 years old. He's been confronted by many, many challenges in his life. After earning a Bachelor of Commerce degree from the University of Alberta, in his career with the federal government, he worked as a communications specialist with the Canadian military, a flight service specialist with Transport Canada, a business tax auditor with the Canada Revenue Agency, and as a business development officer for Aboriginal Business Canada, ending his career as a regional quality assurance manager. That ended that career, but then he became CEO and president of the Tahltan Nation Development Corporation for 10 years, recently completed his term as a board member for BC Hydro, and is now employed with Aero Transport Systems and the Indigenous Advisory Monitoring Committee for the federal government on the TMX pipeline. And I know he's going to share a little bit about the impact of his family on his life and ministry as well. I first heard of Bill's impactful testimony when he shared his story last year at the Saskatoon, Saskatchewan prayer breakfast. There was a real buzz around the impact of his ministry there. So Bill has graciously agreed to be our keynote speaker next year in Ottawa, as we're praying that the Lord enables us to once again meet in our nation's capital. There's something about being on that hill, and we will never lose that opportunity. We will take advantage of it every time we are able to have this event on the hill. And so today, Bill is going to share a taste of his story that will challenge and testify to the hope that is within us. So Bill, thank you so much. Take it away.
Good morning. It's an honor and privilege to be with you here today. I did not have the best start in life with 2 alcoholic parents, a violent father, and separation from father, mother, and 2 sisters at age 5. My brother and I were taken to the residential school in Whitehorse, Yukon, and I was there year-round until I was 15. At 15, after being sexually, physically, and mentally abused, I found myself alone in Whitehorse after the school shut down. You know, at the time, I had to deal with what is now referred to as adverse childhood experiences. They list 10 ACEs like emotional and physical neglect, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, divorce, substance abuse, violence, to name a few. By my calculation, I had 9 out of the 10, and by all counts, I would be categorized as severely psychologically and emotionally damaged. Because of all of this trauma in my life, I was really emotionally bankrupt. I was unloved. I was very angry. And I had never bonded with anybody in my life. And I was completely alone. At the time, I did not know that I had a protector, but only discovered later on in life that the Bible says that God will be a father to the fatherless. I was only on my own for a couple of days before the RCMP picked me up, and within a day or two had me in court and made me a ward of the government and put me into a Christian foster home. And the RCMP even found me a summer job to keep me occupied and out of trouble. Earl and Carol Gates were very good foster parents, but this was cut short as Earl Gates died, and she was forced to leave the Yukon and return to her hometown of Rimbey, Alberta. I was then moved to a couple of other homes. During the summer, while working at a mine in northern BC, I received a letter from her asking if I would move to Rimby to finish my high school, which I accepted. My time there was okay until I started rebelling, and I left high school and joined the Royal Canadian Air Force. Because of my rebellious attitude, this did not turn out very well, and I was asked to resign, or would be given a dishonorable discharge. I immediately resigned. It was during my military time that I met my wife, Val. Our relationship was one of partying and rebellious behavior. When we met, she had just got out of reform school, and I had just got out of residential school. What a pair. But God had his hand in this too. Val is a gift of God, from God. We've been married 54 years, have 3 daughters, Angela, Virginia, and Suzanne, 9 grandchildren and 8 grandchildren. My rebellious and uncontrolled lifestyle did not change with marriage. After the military, I worked in Edmonton and applied to transfer Canada, and then I went to Ottawa for 10 months, graduated, then off to Burwash, Yukon, and then to Uranium City. One day, the RCMP followed me home, and I was arrested and sent to Edmonton jail for violence. This was the first time in my life that I was deathly afraid of going to jail, losing my family, losing my job. I remembered that in the residential school that they had taught us about God and how he was always there to help us if we asked for help. I prayed to ask for God's forgiveness for all my wrongdoing, and I knew that I was forgiven. After the weekend, I was released and returned to Uranium City and told my wife about my God experience, and she too became a Christian. Our lives gradually changed, and we started going to the local church. After Uranium City, we moved to Langley, BC to attend Trinity Western, then to Edmonton to work for CRA, then Aboriginal Canada, or after I completed my 37-year career with the federal government. As mentioned, CRA sent me to University of Alberta to finish my Bachelor of Commerce degree with a major in accounting, and that was a gift. There's a lot of discussion about reconciliation, and I'm all for reconciliation between the federal government and Aboriginal people. However, I am all for personal reconciliation between the individual Aboriginal God first. You know, to me, reconciliation between the government and the Aboriginal really doesn't help the individual. I found that the only way I could change my life was to reconcile with God and ask for his forgiveness. It was only after this that I learned that the only way I could get healthy was to forgive those who abused me. Once I forgave, life changed slowly and gradually. My anger left over time. You know, even after being a Christian, I have to admit that there are areas of my life that I still struggle and may never overcome. I now look back on my life and see how God has intervened. I have a beautiful, loving wife, family, and friends. I received a university education, excellent career with the federal government, a wonderful country, Canada, to live in, a good home, and an excellent church here in Sherwood Park. We attend the Sherwood Park Alliance. Looking back, I can say there are 3 main reasons why my life turned out as it has. First, Jesus, without his help, I would not be here today. Second, others. Without the help of my wife, family, friends, and numerous professional friends, I would not be here today. Third, yourself. Without the personal courage to take advantage of the opportunities of moving my family, first of all, to Ottawa with the flight service, applying to university without completing grade 12, I would not be here today. So remember, Jesus, others, yourself, Joy. That's what has helped me in life. In closing, I just want to read an article that I've been carrying with me for years. It's by Charles Swindoll. This is a very, very shortened version. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than failures, than successes, than what others think and do. The remarkable thing is that we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. I am convinced that life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we react to it. Also, I was just thinking, I just want to mention another thing. I was the first one to go through the residential school hearings in the Yukon. And I can remember the adjudicator, after hearing my story, he said to me, "Bill, I am so glad to hear you're a residential school survivor." And I said, "You know, John, I hate that word survivor. I said, who wants to be a survivor? It sounds like a victim mentality word to me." She said, "Well, what do you think you are then?" I said, "Well, John, I consider myself a residential school conqueror, not a survivor." Anyway, as I mentioned, we are all in charge of our attitude, and we can make that choice every day. So after hearing this, I started off by saying that God was going to be a father to the fatherless. Well, did he keep his promise? I am absolutely grateful and thankful for life, how life has turned out. And for me, it's a resounding yes. He has been a father to the fatherless. I just want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to share my story with you today. And it's been a pleasure. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. What a blessing. You're an example of God's goodness and miracles. You're a conqueror in him. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We look forward to far more a year from now.